Brandon Thurston from WrestleNomics is up next, and we're going to follow Brandon with John Pollock from Post Wrestling.
Delivering on the returns, increasing our margins.
Ratings go down the toilet if I'm not here.
All I do is simply put the math in my favor.
We agree that Brandon and John do good work.
The reason is simple wrestling economics.
I've been told the Netflix numbers. I've been told the metrics a little bit, probably 5 different times. I still don't get it.
There were respectable wrestling journalists who needed answers.
Thank you very much, members of the media. I hope you all go to hell.
How about we pop a number right here, right now?
Whole part of the show, man.
Bonus edition of Pollock and Thurston coming at you on a Friday as we have a big topic to discuss, and that was Janel Grant speaking publicly for the first time since all of the investigations began, including the lawsuit that was filed by Grant back in January of 2024. So, Brandon, we had discussed this a week ago when the press release was issued that Janel Grant would be appearing publicly in Hartford on Thursday for the Connecticut Alliance to End Sexual Violence. And it was very noteworthy, just the fact that Janel Grant has been very sequestered from any public view during this entire story, going all the way back to the first Wall Street Journal reporting, which we are coming up on 4 years since that first report came out from Joe Palazzolo and Ted Mann. And my assumption was that this speech was going to generally just be advocating for this law, speaking just overall to the subject of NDAs and, pushing legislators for this new law. What I was not expecting was the degree of depth of which Janel Grant went into. I mean, this is far more than I was expecting when this video had come out.
She really tells her side of the story and raises factual assertions that are not in the lawsuit, just adding detail to what is in the lawsuit. Up to now, her claims have been limited to what's on paper through counsel. That is through the big federal lawsuit that's been ongoing since January 2024. And there's also a lawsuit there is a bill of discovery petition involving herself and Dr. Carlin Kolker, which is at the state level. So that has been going on too, and it has various allegations in it. But we have basically never heard her speak ever until now. We have one picture of her for the most part, and but this was a full 16 minutes of her speaking and more or less telling her side of the story. And I would suggest asserting that that WWE may still have issues, and that she addresses directly the TKO board of directors at one point.
Okay, we're going to hear from Janel Grant. This was at the beginning of her speech. It is going to be linked in our story as well. You can watch the entire speech. It's about an hour-long press conference that is held in Hartford, and Janel Grant was one of the first speakers. And here is some of her opening remarks and describing just how dark things got for her in the wake of all of these cases that began back in 2022.
By a series of miracles that I can't account for, I'm alive today. Whew. On June 15th of 2022, my life was rewritten into someone else's storyline. And I was globally outed in the Wall Street Journal. I got a call that I didn't expect on the day of a very big meeting of a new job I had. And it was in front of my new bosses, and it was in front of a high-rise full of residents whose homes I was entrusted to protect. So imagine me getting a phone call I didn't expect saying that at any minute, the Wall Street Journal would be publishing a story about me, Vince McMahon, and a non-disclosure agreement. I was told, if anybody asks me about this, I can't make a comment, I can't acknowledge it, I can't say I'm not okay, and if anybody approaches me, I can't acknowledge years of life to people who saw me live it. And it was like somebody set fire to my home intentionally with me still inside of it. So I I blacked out and I ended up in a closet with a belt and a stool placed under a metal rod. And thank God somebody saw me and stopped it.
So that was Janel Grant speaking at Thursday's event in Hartford, again, for the Connecticut Alliance to End Sexual Violence. That's just a sample of what she described, and going into the initial reporting from the Wall Street Journal. I think it is important to note the fact that in the initial reporting, the Wall Street Journal never named Janel Grant. It was just a former WWE employee. Now, Janel Grant's name did get publicized in some places online, but that was not the Wall Street Journal that named her. And from a official standpoint, like, she was not officially named publicly until the lawsuit was filed in January 2024 as well. But she goes through a lot of just the restrictions that she has been under through this NDA, her own six figures that she had to put into to participate in the WWE's investigation, the federal investigation that began and had been in contact with her. She was critical of TKO's current management system. She even alludes to an unspecified storyline in WWE that she felt was mirroring the allegations. And I think most people would deduce that this would be the Liv Morgan, Dominic Mysterio story that was going on, that people were definitely drawing parallels to, specifically a scene where Dominic Mysterio receives a text from Liv Morgan that you as the viewer are led to believe that she's sending nude photos to Dominic, who then shows it off to his friends, very much in line with what was alleged about Vince McMahon and sharing material of Janel Grant to coworkers that she alleged as well. It's a lot to process. Like, again, this speech is only 15 minutes, but there is a lot in here. And Janel Grant, like, going through just how much trauma she has undergone. She said she went out of her house 10 times last year, that she was largely just isolated inside her home all of last year, and probably beyond that as well.
Right. One of the things that I took note of is that she says that during the federal investigation, which would refer to, I mean, let's mention too, for anybody who hasn't been following the story over the last couple of years. So she alleges in her lawsuit that she was sex trafficked and sexually assaulted by Vince McMahon, assaulted by John Laurinaitis. They've denied that. Laurinaitis has been come to some sort of settlement, and he's been dropped from the lawsuit. The lawsuit also involves WWE as a defendant. She's claiming that WWE was negligent. So there's been a federal investigation. We don't know the details of that. Of course, the federal authorities have never commented on the nature of that investigation. But that federal investigation, its existence has been confirmed by WWE in an SEC filing. It's also alluded to, and it's tangentially involved in the shareholder lawsuit. But she says during this federal investigation, a love letter was purportedly found on a corporate laptop and published in the New York Post. So this refers to a New York Post story that was published, I believe, around April of 2024, with basically this love letter written from Janel Grant to Vince McMahon. She claims that she was coerced into writing it, but it purports to show that this was a consensual relationship and so forth. She says, so exactly what I'm just going to quote her here. The article also rewrote my life. This was a public humiliation and intimidation of a person who gets letters from the FBI that say victim. And it seems that she's alluding to, so before that, she says, two examples to keep in mind. These are corporate leaders who knew me by name, by face, by office location, by emails, by text, by casual conversation. And during this federal investigation, the letter was found on a corporate laptop. It seems to say, she seems to be saying that WWE had some sort of involvement in getting that letter to the New York Post so that it was published. We've asked WWE and TKO for comments about this. I've asked WWE in our inquiries to them specifically that question about whether they had any involvement in facilitating that letter being published with the New York Post. They have not responded, as they almost never do. So that seems to be what she is saying.
It's also worth noting that she states that The company reached out. This was after the first Wall Street Journal reporting in June of 2022. The company reached out and requested that I make a joint statement that this was a consensual relationship and that they wanted to know to the extent that I needed or wanted something, aka more money on the table. I refused. And then in the second Wall Street Journal story in July, the company spokesperson said it for me that it was consensual. The very first story that Ted Mann and Joe Palazzolo published does include a WWE spokesperson stating it was consensual. So this apparently, like, they wanted Janel Grant to confirm this and state in compliance with them that this was consensual. And she refused to take part in this and states that they put that statement out without her blessing. So that was a bit of a notable figure. She mentioned the fact that she had spent 6 figures to participate in this investigation, between legal retainers and on medical care that she said saved her life. And when it comes to the workplace culture, she states, there are people living and working in fear here in Connecticut. And there's a headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut right now that is full of intimidated people that I care very much about. If there was several things that you can draw from in this speech, but this certainly felt like this is, for those that are arguing that this is a Vince McMahon issue and not a WWE issue, she certainly is putting WWE and TKO, maybe not to the extent of what she is alleging against Vince McMahon, but that they are at least, they are part of this story too. And she is stating that she wants TKO to reach out to her to speak with them, but she is very much painting this as like this is an extension of Vince McMahon to this corporate culture that she describes in the complaint that was filed.
We've also sent inquiries to W and TKO asking if they have any intention to meet with her. Between that, the assertion that she's raising about the storyline that seems to reflect her situation with the photos being shared, and the notion that perhaps W had some involvement in the New York Post story being what it was. This is clearly, she's going after W's current leadership too, which is, I think, been a large part of the conversation over the last few years. Vince is gone and John Laurinaitis are gone, but has this issue have issues around allegations of sexual misconduct, have they been fully addressed? She directly addressed the TKO board, saying, if you didn't know this part of your origin story, now you know. I hope you will have conversations with us. I will hope you have conversations amongst yourselves. And I hope that you don't rely on old instincts with new insight.
Yeah. She had stated that she was working on this speech on the way to this event, like in the car. This was a very thought out speech. Like, there are a lot of, this felt like a very prepared speech that she has largely had in her for probably a lot of time. That to me, Brandon, was like the biggest question at the end of this is why now? I can understand why this particular venue that she's choosing to. She was very complimentary of a woman by the name of Beth Hamilton, who is with this alliance and seems to have been a big ally of hers in all of this. And I don't doubt this was a big weight off her shoulders to address all this. But I mean, there has been legal reasons why she could not speak publicly about this. That is one question you have to come at the end of this. Like, what has changed that made this the decision to speak publicly here, which certainly you would imagine that there is going to be, a response from the defendants here. Like, this is kind of at the core of things, like of, what she opted to speak about publicly here and how the defendants are going to respond to this.
And we did reach out to Janel Grant's representatives to ask why she made the decision now to tell her story here, and we did ask about the basis of, we asked for clarification if she is in fact saying that WWE facilitated the love letter being published in the New York Post. We did ask that. They declined to comment, to add further comment.
So I mean, I would encourage people to watch this speech because I don't think we can do it justice of like the tone and the messaging of Janel Grant. But this was pretty explosive. It was a lot more than I was expecting of a Janel Grant public appearance to include. I think there's going to be a lot of fallout from this. And I mean, it also brings up the question of if Janel Grant, if this is the lone time we are going to hear from her, if they are going to take a different tact of maybe Janel Grant becoming more of a spokesperson on behalf of herself in all of this as well, if they're going that this is the necessary step we have to take in this case. I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions as well about just the circumstances behind this decision that Grant's team made to have her deliver the speech.
And I would say it's not really clear what their position is about the non-disclosure agreement, the confidentiality provision of it, I suppose. I mean, clearly she's filed a very long lawsuit in federal court against Vince and WWE. She's filed another legal case in state court against Dr. Carlin Kolker. So essentially, she's made extensive public comments before this through attorneys. Commenting publicly is a different thing that has now come 2 years later. So it's not clear what their legal position is around whether she can talk more about this as she did yesterday.
All right. We just wanted to do a short reaction to this as well. We will be continuing to follow this story at postwrestling.com. And of course, you can catch myself and Brandon each Thursday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time here on the WrestleNomics and Post Wrestling channels. And that is it for us. Thanks a lot for tuning in to this special breaking news reaction on Pollock and Thurston.